Ace money the shit. Working that bitch. Ballin' like Swish. Diamonds wet like a fish. Pull up with them sticks. Come fuck with the clique. We fucked on your bitch. She sucking the dick.
Now you're around your son every day in the gym. You know what he looks like when he's not cutting weight. My question for you is, I know he's young at 22, so he can get away with it right now while he's still young. But do you think that him going to 135 is the reason why we don't see very hard shots from him? Do you think he could be possibly cutting a lot of weight and it's sapping his strength? Because I don't know how big he is out of fight condition.
Great question, brother. And what we talk about with Devin, we talk about Devin having the 2019 or 2020 knockout of the year against a tough and rugged Antonio Moran. We talk about him with Zaur Abdullaev, the tough Russian that was ranked number 1 in the WBC. He broke his orbital bone.
That bitch.
Yeah, he broke his orbital bone. When we talk about Endon Jenny, he dropped him. So when we talk about out of his last 5 fights, he either dropped the guy or either badly hurt the other guy. So of those four out of the last fight, when we talk about Gamboa, it's widely publicized now, and it wasn't like necessarily that we were driving it, but Devin had a broken hand in that fight. Well, the hand was repaired, but we weren't able to use it and sparring or anything like that. So being sharp with it, we were only able to use one hand, and we were out for a year because of obviously the pandemic, Devin's shoulder and the like. So when we talk about the actual power and being able to sustain the power and have it at 135, he's had it, and he has the kind of power that will keep any fighter honest. You know what I mean? And let him do his work.
So to come back to rebuttal that, I think a lot of that damage though was more or less through accumulation of shots because he's very good. So here's the thing. I've boxed before, and boxing obviously because your son's at a high world-class level. Precision punches can be harder than hard shots. You know what I mean? Like well-played shots can actually add up more than a single hard shot. So, I see him through accumulation hurting people, but as far as like single punch power, it doesn't really look to be there. And I'm not saying that as a negative because, like I said, you don't have to be a Mike Tyson is Deontay Wilder style fighter. There's multiple styles of fighting. My only question for you is, when you see him in the gym when he's not cutting weight, does he appear to be stronger than he is when we see him fight night? Like, I'm not trying to take away from him. I'm just trying to see how long he could actually be at 135 because I think everybody thinks eventually he's got to move up.
Absolutely. Great question. But when you talk about actually a fighter getting in the ring and getting on the scale at 135, everyone has different advantages, disadvantages. If you're able to make 135, right, and he's still able to make the weight, and he makes it on the first try, it's no like coming back and doing anything like that, then you know what I mean, we're still in business. This last fight, he made the weight easy. When you talk about him being at 22, and eating a meals of a champion, right? Eating, and doing the things that you're supposed to do to get ready. It was actually our smoothest weight cut.
All right, so at the moment right now, you don't think he's losing any strength going to 135. You think like he's running full cylinders from the next day whenever he regains, rehydrates and weight. Judging off of what you see on a day-to-day. So 135, he could potentially be at for the next couple of years, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, we take it fight by fight at this level. That's the way that you got to shoot it. You can't look. You can't look because, at being at the top of it, this thing is different than when you're developing, right? So we look at Linares, and then we look at it. You know what I mean? From there, right? When you talk about Devin, then you're saying, okay, well, if a person is having problem making weight, then they have a problem with their conditioning as well, because not just the power, you think about the conditioning. When you watch him with Gamboa, right, you see a fighter that was conditioned out the game, that, you know what I mean, won every round, I mean, you know, decisively, right? And you talk about doing things in there and staying alert and have the mental focus and stuff like that, that you wouldn't have if you were having a problem making the weight.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've cut weight before too. I used to walk around 185 and I would drop down to 160 to make sure I could make weight in the amateur. So I would lose around 30 pounds just dehydrating myself, sitting in saunas with rubber suits, all of that, and then rehydrate the fuck out of myself for the fight. But I was just seeing how he was, you know, physically. Like, so you're saying he's good, and it sounds like he's been around 135 for a little while now. So is your goal to clear out 135 before y'all move up?
Our goal is definitely to make these big events happen. And what we heard was, you know, music to our ears, because, you know, what Teofimo Lopez just said, senior, and that's a great fight. You know, that would be a great way for us to win that fight and close out 135.
You know, I don't take anything away from Teofimo Lopez, but I've seen a video a long time ago on YouTube where Teo and his dad ran up on Eddie Hearn, and they was like, $10 million will fight Devin. And Eddie Hearn was like, sure. And they was like frozen, like deers in headlights. So I hear what he's saying, that he'll fight him next. I don't know if I believe it.
Right. Well, we have to take him for, you know, this is closest that we came, you know what I mean? And with him being on here and being honest, I don't want to disrespect them or their team and what they got going. They got a fight lined up in Cambosos already. We got a fight lined up in Linares, and I'm sure in Linares, you know what I mean? It's a great preparation fight. We beat him, you know, to go to another level, you know what I mean? In Devin, experience-wise, you know what I mean? And then, you know, also Cambosos, you know what I mean? I guess is a good fight for him as well.
I have a question for Mr. Haney.
I'm going to let other people get in. Again, my name's Tony Vasyl, but I'm going to tell you this, though. I'm going to tell you this. My honest opinion, y'all should save Ryan Garcia for last if you can, if he doesn't flex that mandatory on y'all, because I truthfully believe stylistically he'll beat Devin at this moment. So I believe that should be y'all's last fight. You're going to feel different because of the son, but that's just my honest opinion.
No, absolutely. So, and I appreciate your comment on that. Those are the kind of fights and those are the kind of thoughts that make for a great event, you know. And when you have people that think different, right? You know, some people like KD and you know, some people like LeBron. Some people like LeBron and some people like Steph Curry. But that's what makes up that wonderful league called the NBA. And some people like Teofimo, some people like Ryan, some people like Devin. That's what makes up this wonderful thing called boxing.
I have a question for Mr. Haney. Does it bother you, or is it irrelevant that this guy keeps walking around saying he's undisputed when the WBC belt is still out there?
Well, the word undisputed means that no one is disputing it, right? So we have enough people that are disputing it. Like I said, once again, you have some people that are saying that it's undisputed. Some people are saying that it's not. So that alone qualifies for something to be disputed and not undisputed. I mean, I know enough about, you know what I mean, this you know, this English language and words, and you know what I mean, and where ESPN built the fight as a four belt title, right? 4-belt championship and all these other things. ESPN didn't actually bill it as that, but then you have commentators who come on and then they say it. You know what I mean? But
right.
You know, so they did a lot of wordplay into making that fight happen. It's, you know, whatever, great event. It happened. It moved on. It was in the past. But actually, when it comes down to fighting, whether or not he is or he isn't, the people actually want to see the fight, and that's the most important thing for us, is that the people actually want to see the fight happen. right? No matter what he's being considered as or what they consider themselves as, you know what I mean? It's just that we've earned the right to be in this position. And according to just what Senior said, you know, like I told him what, you know, after he came out the ring, he said Devin Haney. Teofimo Jr. said Devin Haney. So we must mean something to boxing.
Roger that. Appreciate the answer.
Thank you, King.
I actually have a question I want to ask. So I do remember that Devin Haney did call out Vasyl Lomachenko on Twitter, but that was when the Linares fights were high negotiations from what I heard. So what happened with the Lomachenko fight as of late? What made it fall through recently?
Well, Lomachenko, unlike his team, his promoter, and Bob Arum, doesn't want to make the fight happen. He doesn't want Lomachenko to leave ESPN, but he also doesn't want to send over any kind of thing to Devin to come over there until after Devin has quote unquote what he said is finished our obligation with DAZN and Eddie Hearn, which, you know what I mean, I didn't feel that was something that should be right, because we're in a position to make the fight happen, whatever network that it be on, that we sit down and we are negotiating. Bob looked at it from more one-sided, right, and not necessarily looking at it and saying, okay, well, let's necessarily talk about it. So Lomachenko has been vocal about it, but his team isn't, right? He's saying he's going back on Twitter, but when you talk about Igis Klimas is not reaching back out me and saying anything different. When you talk about him also on Instagram, he told us to talk to his manager. We reached out and talked to his manager. His manager was not able to negotiate the fight, right? He's saying to send an offer over to a company that has already expressed interest that they're not going to let him leave, right? So that's just the way that it is.
All right, thank you.
Yo, BH, it sounds like y'all came to a verbal agreement right there. He said after Cambosis, he said it, you know what I mean, the biggest fight in boxing. We can't wait. Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez.
Absolutely. So you know, we're more in a, you know, more further along at making the thing happen. You know, by me, you know, talking to Senior, you know what I mean? So you know, shout out to what they're doing, you know. Shout out to what they're doing, you know what I mean? H Money Boxing, you know what I'm saying? Fastest growing channel in boxing, you know what I mean? We were able to come on here and talk like real men, right? And you know, real men do real things, man. So thank you everybody. Thank you everybody on the panel, everybody in the chat, you know what I mean? Shout out to, you know, UH, man, for, you know what I mean, being super professional and getting all these great people together to make this thing happen. And, you know, shout out to Teofimo.
Yeah, that's what it is. You know?
Yeah. And thank
that's
you,
big.
Shout out to Senior, you know what I mean, for coming by, you know what I mean, and hanging out in the ghetto with us. No, I'm just kidding.
That part. I like that.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, man. I'm going to go ahead and get my daughter. She's going to go to bed, so I'm going to, you know, have a few words with her before she goes to sleep. All right.
Have a good night, sir.
It's official. After Linares, the agreement, Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney, they have verbally agreed to the fight, man. That's big.
Thank you, brother. Peace.
For sure.